I've read a book called Earth Grids, The Secret Patterns of Gaia's Sacred Sites. I've also researched the Indigo Child phenomenon. I read a book about that called The Psychic Children. I run the Megalithomania conference in Glastonbury. We do tours around the world. And I research earth energies, sacred sites and the ancient landscape. The Earth Grids is a fascinating subject for anyone who's interested in ancient sites specifically. You start looking at the distribution of ancient sites all across the planet and you realise there's connections between them. And you look at the measurements within the sites themselves, but also the measurements between sites, the distances, the degrees, the percentages they are around the world from each other. And you find some fascinating correlations which link up with sacred geometry, ancient metrology, like the study of measurements in ancient times. And you realise that the ancients had a very sophisticated network going on all around the planet. Some people believe there's like, also believe there's like an energetic kind of grid that naturally forms within the Earth, which is really to do with cymatics and how that links with sacred geometry, and that manifests in a spherical way on the surface of the planet. And it's suggested that the ancient sites marked where these points on the planet all link up, and then this becomes like what is known as the planetary grid or the Earth grid or the Gaia grid. There's lots of different names for it, and there's lots and lots of theories about, you know, the different aspects of what this could really be. I think my favourite one is the one like to do with earth energies, and how the way that this geometry that forms on the planet is probably to do with vibration of some sort, because we have that everywhere. That's the nature of everything, like cymatics, etc. And so you'll get these kind of natural patterns forming in quite small areas across the surface of the planet, but also around the entire planet, and even into the solar system, into the galaxy, and into the universe. And a lot of people are realising there's some fundamental kind of microcosmic, macrocosmic connection there, going right down to the cells, right out. If you look at it from a more local perspective, there's been a lot of research into ancient sites and the type of stone, the type of earth energies, the type of geology that are present there. And it's been proven by John Burke, but earlier by shamanic cultures and traditional cultures in certain parts of the world, where they have vision quest sites, or they have sites that are sort of sacred. And these sites are where you actually get a sort of shift, an altered state of consciousness, or shifting consciousness occurring just by being present at the site. And it can be stronger at certain times of year, regarding the movement of the planets, the movement of the Earth, interacting with the sun and the moon, things like this. And this is evidenced in when you look into archaeoastronomy and the way sites are aligned to all these different stars, and the sun and the moon and other sort of planets, all around, in our solar system. And so it's been proven that you get this electric charge build up at sites. It's something that John Burke covered quite extensively in his book Seed and Knowledge Stone of Plenty. And he found that you actually get an altered state of consciousness just with these kind of energies that occur at these sites. And they also, the same type of energy charges up seeds when placed at these sites. And this is something that the ancients were obviously doing. So there's like a double thing here. There's one of them is to do with fertility, and the other same energies are to do with shifting consciousness. And we know that the ancients were very much into shifting or altering their consciousness through either psychotropic plants, or through shamanic practice, or through these sacred sites. That's also connected with the white powder gold. It's something that Lawrence Gardner and others have looked into. And they think there's a connection there, because these sites may have been, if you build up enough charge, you can get heat, you can get all these different elements for kind of working. You can produce this gold. And also in a lot of these stones, you actually get monotonic elements within the stones themselves, within these megaliths and other sites. So whether there's a connection there, we really don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think with these dolmens, they were like capacitors. They would trap the energy within them with a sort of tabletop, and then a little sort of structure around it, the walls around it. They would trap this energy, and this is where Burke got a lot of his results from when he tested his seeds inside these places. He found that the highest charge would occur early in the mornings, particularly at these dolmen sites. The golden ratio is linked with a lot of these sites. If you look at the geometry of stone circles, it's often found within them, in the harmonics, in the numbers, in the geometry, etc. But the Great Pyramid obviously has a lot of this in it as well, when you start looking into the maths and the construction and architecture. On a global scale, you get this as well. The distances between sites, you find correlations where they're like got their golden section distances apart from each other. I mean, I cover this in one of the pages in my book. I actually sort of cover all the different sort of sites that have these connections. So whether they were actually mapping these around the world over great distance, thousands of miles, or it's just a natural instinct we have within us to follow a geometrical kind of guidance, just by being human and being living. You know, I think we naturally get drawn towards harmony, and the golden section is the perfect. I find if we look at the pyramids in Egypt as an example, when you go in the pyramid, you realise it's like being inside a big machine. It's not really a temple. You know, there's lots of temples in Egypt, and they're obviously temples. You go inside the pyramids, they were hermetically sealed. You couldn't go in them. They weren't supposed to be gone in. They were designed as machines to generate a field of energy, I believe possibly on a global scale, not just in the local area. They were so large, and you find evidence of similar designs all around the planet, sort of equally spaced, particularly where there's earthquake or volcanic potential. This is where they're often placed. It's almost like they're plugging the energy and absorbing that energy from the earth, just not only to stop earthquakes and problems and crustal shifts and things like that, but also to use that energy for a positive effect and to create this harmonic energy from it. So they were like, it's almost like bringing chaos into harmony and structure. And this is what I think is, we still have that kind of obsession as the human does. And so I think the ancients were very aware of that, and they would do that. Regarding giants, when you look at, you obviously look at the megaliths, you look at the pyramids, and you can't imagine how they could have even moved these stones. And so it would make sense that maybe there were giants on the earth. And there's a lot of evidence in North America, in the mound culture, and they did find a lot of giant skeletons there, which has been completely suppressed. There's lots and lots of reports of that. There could be a connection there. I'm not sure if the energy itself like that would create giants, because if you go way back millions of years, there were giants on the earth then, but they were dinosaurs. But they didn't have pyramids and things like that. Well, I don't think they did. That's really smart. But do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think there might have been a different kind of gravity, there might have been a different place we were in the galaxy or the solar system, and that may have changed over time gradually. Interests me, we're sort of approaching 2011, 2012 is pretty damn soon. What interests me is that they built these sites to last. They made them of stone, they made them of big stones, so they wouldn't be destroyed, because the cataclysm that obviously happened before destroyed everything. So they thought, right, we better build these sites so they're available for future generations. And they've lasted to this day. And when you look at the Mayan calendar particularly, or what is possibly the Olmec calendar according to mine and other people's research, the start date of 3113 BC started at that point for a reason, because there's probably a cataclysm happened around that time. So why then does the calendar end at the end of 2012? Are they trying to mark something then as well? Do we need to be aware of that? Do we need to prepare for that? What's going on with that? And why is there such a massive interest in pyramids, in stone circles? There's a whole global wave of megalithomania taking place. Everyone's into it. And is there a reason for that? Are we picking up on something? That we need to sort of study these things to get the message that the ancients left about this penultimate end date at the end of 2012? I think there's something to approaching that with a bit of respect this day. Something big could happen, and we need to get ready.